Good evening. You're watching the news at 6 with me, Ishan Russell, and these are the headlines we're tracking right now. Narendra Modi arrives in Jaffna, the first Indian Prime Minister to visit the war-torn region, hands over houses built with India's help to ethnic minority Tamils. Congress raises the cudgels against the government over Delhi Police's visit to Rahul Gandhi's residence, accuses it of snooping against the leader. Outrage in India forces Pakistan to detain 2611 mastermind Zakir Rahman Lakhvi for another month detention against public security order. Former Maldivian President Mohammad Nasheed jailed for 13 years under Anti-Terrorism Act. Nasheed calls on supporters to protest against order in the streets. And India continues its unbeaten run in the World Cup, beats Zimbabwe by 6 wickets to make it 6 wins in 6 games. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Sri Lanka's Tamil heartland, Jaffna, today, the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to the war-ravaged region. He handed over houses built under the Infrastructure Development Project funded by the Indian government to Tamils in the region. The step displays India's commitment towards the rehabilitation of the ethnic Tamil minority.
On the second day of his Sri Lanka visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi left capital Colombo to visit the Tamil-dominated region of Jaffna. Modi opened a housing complex funded by the Indian government in the former war zone. He handed over houses to Tamils under the Ilavalai Northwest Housing Project. The second phase of construction is also set to begin soon.
उजड़े हुए परिवारों को बसाने के लिए भारत की तरफ से हजारों घर बनाने का अभियान चल रहा है और उसी के तहत कुछ मकान उन दुखी परिवारों को सुपुर्द करने का मुझे अवसर मिला है.
India has long urged autonomy for the ethnic minority Tamils of the country who have close ties with South India. Modi called on the majority Sinhalese government to fully implement the 13th Amendment, a 1987 constitutional provision on greater autonomy, and go beyond it in the reconciliation process. He also lauded the efforts of newly elected President Maithripala Sirisena and assured him of all help from India.
एक प्रकार से भारत और श्रीलंका को, श्रीलंका के दुखी परिवारों को, जाफना के दुखियारों को उनके दुख दर्द में शरीक होने का, उनको मदद करने का और उनके जीवन में खुशहाली लाने का एक नम्र प्रयास है.
Earlier in the day, Modi and Sirisena offered prayers at the sacred Mahabodhi tree in Sri Lanka's ancient capital, Anuradhapura. He also visited the Mahabodhi Society and met with Buddhist monks. Modi also flagged a train service in the northern part of Sri Lanka. He inaugurated the 63-kilometer railway track between Madhu Road and the northwestern town of Talaimanar, the closest point to India. India has committed $1.6 billion in development assistance and further assistance of up to $318 million to the railway sector in Sri Lanka. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, a visit by the Delhi police to Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi's house a few days ago has snowballed into a full-fledged political controversy. Now, while the Congress has accused the centre of conducting political espionage on its top leader, both her ruling party and the Delhi police have denied these allegations.
We are charging the government, we are condemning the government, we are strongly, in the strongest possible words, deprecating this kind of conduct. Not only about Congress political opponents and Mr. Rahul Gandhi in particular, but I am very specifically saying generally political opponents of other opposition political parties.
With these words, the Congress party came down heavily on the BJP-led government at the centre. The incident revolves around the Delhi police team visiting Rahul Gandhi's office and residence and asking questions about his whereabouts a few days ago. The main opposition party termed this as a case of political espionage and demanded an explanation from the Home Minister.
This kind of intrusion into political opponents' lives, I'm sorry, This may be the Gujarat model, it is not India's model. The track record may show that it has been a model perfected in Gujarat, especially for political opponents. Indeed, not only for political opponents, but for, we are told, and there are a large number of tales about judges, journalists, private persons, but it is certainly not the police state model for India.
Meanwhile, Delhi police has termed the incident as a routine exercise undertaken by its officers and denied any political motives behind it. Delhi police chief said the beat officer had visited residence of many VIPs, including that of Rahul Gandhi.
सरकार का इसमें कोई लेना देना है ना, होम मिनिस्ट्री का लेना देना है इसमें। ये एक कानून और व्यवस्था को सुदृढ़ करने के लिए जो कई तरह की रूटीन एक्टिविटीज़ पुलिस करती है, उसका एक हिस्सा था।
दिल्ली पुलिस के कमिश्नर ने स्वयं इस पर बोला है और उसे कोई स्नूपिंग के रूप में नहीं है, कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन कलेक्शन की बात ऐसे समझ में आ रही है। हर चीज पे राजनीति करना, कांग्रेस पार्टी आरोप लगाने की जो बात करी है वो गलत है। एक देश में पार्टी ऑलरेडी है जिसकी राजनीति सिर्फ आरोप पर आधारित है।
A Delhi police team led by additional DCP Jatin Narwal visited Rahul Gandhi's Tughlaq Lane residence on Saturday to inquire about the incident and the sequence of events. Rahul is on a sabbatical since the start of the budget session of Parliament on 23rd of February. With Vipin Chauhan, Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV, Delhi.
JDU President Sharad Yadav's comment on dark-skinned South Indian women during a debate in Parliament has created a political furor. Yadav was speaking in the Rajya Sabha on Thursday on the government's bill for insurance reforms when he inexplicably launched into a rant on what he called the Indian obsession with fair skin. He described the proposal to raise foreign investment from 26 to 49% in insurance as a symptom of this obsession. DMK MP Kanimori has been leading the charge against Sharad Yadav's comment. The JDU on its part is trying to play it down the controversy. Yadav, though, insists that there is nothing wrong with what he said.
मेरा ये कहना था कि ये जो आपने मानस आपका जो बन गया है, माइंडसेट जो हो गया है कि यूरोप के रास्ते ही आपको दुनिया बना सकते हो और कोई रास्ता दूसरा नहीं, उसमें ये रंग का सवाल, रंग भेद का सवाल भी मैंने तर्क के अनुसार किया और मैं 100% सही हूँ.
Sometimes these great leaders, big leaders, sometimes they think that they are joking or they are speaking in a lighter vein. But when pointed out by a colleague, the Kanimori, the member from the DMK, he should have stopped it. Because sometimes it hurts the sentiment of the women, of the Tamil Nadu women.
The comment of Mr. Sharad Yadav also reeks of racism and is quite misogynistic. And Mr. Sharad Yadav should apologize for this. And this is not in good taste for the parliament.
उनकी जो भारत की अवधारणा है वो संविधान की मूल धारा के विरुद्ध है. संविधान सभी धर्मों का, सभी समूहों का आदर करने के लिए कहता है यूनिटी इन डाइवर्सिटी. तो संविधान की मूल भावनाओं के विरुद्ध उनका वक्तव्य है. मैं उसकी निंदा करता हूं.
Now, the Arvind Kejriwal-led Delhi government completes a month in office today. While the government fulfilled its promises about free water and cheaper electricity, no new project has been approved. Here's a report card on its performance.
Known for maintaining distance from the media, the Aam Aadmi Party is now treading a new path. As it completes 1 month in office, the party did not let go of the opportunity to talk about its achievements in this period. The government patted its own back while talking to the press. The Deputy Chief Minister told the media that the Delhi government had fulfilled several of its promises. These include the promise of cheaper electricity and free water, restarting the age-old pension scheme, increasing the rent of Anganwadi centres to 5,000 rupees, buying food grains from government godowns. Besides this, the government has also sought a list of sensitive areas as far as women's safety is concerned. It has also decided that between 6 p.m. and midnight, home guards will be stationed on DTC buses. At least 200 private schools have been sent notices, and the process of installing CCTV cameras in all 1007 schools in the city has begun. The Transport Department has also issued almost 21,000 new e-rickshaw licenses. With recent incidents of dissent and infighting within the party, the government has also appointed 21 MLAs as parliamentary secretaries. They will be given the rank of cabinet minister. As a result, not only the chief minister but the other ministers too will work with 3 other MLAs each.
पूरे कॉन्फिडेंस के साथ हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं, सरकार पूरी तेजी से काम कर रही है। अगर देखें तो पिछला 1 महीना सिस्टमिक रिफॉर्म्स में, सरकार के कामकाज के तरीके बदलने में, उसके लिए आईटी को मैक्सिमम कैसे यूज़ किया जा सकता है, उसकी संभावनाएं तलाशने में इस समय निकला है।
The Delhi government has also planned to make the process of issuing all certificates online. Vendors' licenses already went online on 23rd February. But the opposition accused the government of not doing enough as it was too busy sorting out its own differences.
सरकार मेजोरिटी में आए और 31 मार्च तक आप लगभग 2 महीने में बजट प्रपोजल्स तक नहीं बना पाए।
कोई फ्लाईओवर नया नहीं बना, कोई प्रोजेक्ट नहीं आया, कोई डेवलपमेंट का काम पता नहीं, सोशल वेलफेयर स्कीम का पता नहीं, कोई बिजली पानी में कोई सुधार हुआ हो, एजुकेशन में सुधार हुआ हो, मेडिकल में सुधार हुआ। मुझे नहीं लगता। हमने जहां छोड़ा था आज वहीं खड़े हैं। 1 इंच 1 रत्ती भर भी उसमें कोई इजाफा नहीं हुआ।
The Delhi government has also decided to call a 2-day assembly session to present the vote on account for the first quarter of the next fiscal. This session is scheduled for 24th and 25th March, while the budget will be presented in June. Anu Diwan's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
PDP President Mehbooba Mufti has made a shocking remark over Sharad Yadav, saying that there's nothing wrong in releasing him. Mufti also maintained that Alam never used a gun and was the product of the 2010 snort-pelting unrest, which he spearheaded. She said that her father, the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Mufti Mohammed Saeed, is upholding the Supreme Court order of releasing the separatists. Alam's release last week rocked the parliament and prompted Prime Minister Narendra Modi to declare that it was unacceptable. PDP leader, who asserted that PDP-BJP alliance was driven by the mandate, says there should not be double standards over court judgments.
जिस तरह से मशरद आलम भट्ट को छोड़ा है, वो भी लखवी जैसा ही एक टेररिस्ट है। अगर उसको हमारे हुकूमत ने छोड़ा है तो हम किस मुंह से पूछेंगे उसको कि आपने लखवी को क्यों छोड़ा है।
Time now for a very quick break, but coming up on the other side, a 9-foot tall statue of Mahatma Gandhi has been unveiled in the UK. We'll be getting you pictures and more on that after the break. Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Now, more national news and updates in Nationwide. After sailing through a trust vote in the Bihar Assembly, Nitish Kumar has called for statewide protests and agitations against the land bill brought by the Modi government. The Bihar Chief Minister started his 24-hour fast as a token of protest against the bill. JDU MPs, MLAs and office bearers are observing similar fasts across the state. A day after unprecedented ruckus in the Kerala Assembly that saw MLAs of both ruling UDF and opposition LDF coming to blows, the two camps are gearing up for another showdown. They've sought action against each other for the scene in their house. On the other hand, LDF leaders called for a shutdown march and marched in the streets after their legislators were injured in the Assembly ruckus. LDF leaders are demanding the resignation of Finance Minister K.M. Mani. The ambitious Ahmedabad Metro Rail project was today inaugurated by Chief Minister Anandiben Patel and Parliamentary Affairs Minister M. Venkaiah Naidu. Phase 1 of the project was approved on October 18, 2014 by the Union Cabinet. The project is likely to be completed by 2018. Now, a statue of Mahatma Gandhi has been unveiled in London's Parliament Square. The unveiling of the 9-foot bronze statue marks 100 years since Gandhi returned to India from South Africa to begin his struggle for independence. The statue was unveiled by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, who's in the UK. The Gandhi Statue Memorial Trust raised more than £1 million for the work, which has been described as a magnificent tribute. The ceremony also saw the involvement of Mahatma Gandhi's grandson, Gopal Krishna Gandhi. British sculptor Philip Jackson created the statue. Jackson says he was inspired by photographs of the leader outside 10 Downing Street on a visit in 1931. India's father of the nation, Gandhiji, is known for his use of non-violent protests and hunger strikes to protest against the oppression of India's poorest classes.
Link Churchill and Gandhi together is their strength of character. But it's a greater tribute to Britain to recognize Gandhiji's contribution and choose to place the seditious half-naked fakir next to his one-time nemesis Churchill. And of course, next to the man that Gandhiji inspired, Nelson Mandela.
If Gandhi could have lived anywhere in the world outside India, he said it would have been here in London. We should be proud of that, and we should be proud of him.
He said, "The way of peace is the way to truth." Gandhi scorched by his love, and he healed by his fire. We need him in India today more than we ever have.
Will be a society based on non-violence. That is the first law. Out of that, all other blessings will follow.
News from across the border now. Pakistan has decided to detain the 2008 Mumbai attack mastermind Zakir Rahman Lakhvi for one more month. Now, this comes after India raised strong objections over Lakhvi's release order by a Pakistani court. Home Ministry claims that despite overwhelming evidence having been given to Pakistan against Lakhvi, it has not been presented in the courts over there properly.
After a day of heightened activity surrounding the announcement of Zakir Rahman Lakhvi's release, Pakistan has decided to detain him for another month. Under the rules of the public security order, Lakhvi will be in prison for 30 more days before he can be set free. Jail authorities in Rawalpindi have refused to let him out merely on the basis of the court order received through fax. Lakhvi's lawyer will be challenging the decision in the High Court on Monday, claiming the detention to be illegal. The release order had evoked a strong protest from India. An outraged India on Friday summoned Pakistan High Commissioner Abdul Basit in New Delhi to lodge its protest. But several questions have also been raised about the government's foreign policy.
Had a strong message conveyed to Pakistan through Mr. Basit that India is absolutely upset and India is not going to take this. And if Lakhvi was released, then it would affect India and Pakistan relationship. And because of this strong message, today we get the news that Pakistan is retaining Lakhvi in jail.
Lakhvi is released in Pakistan. Masrat Alam is released in Jammu and Kashmir. Sri Lankan Prime Minister threatens to shoot Indian fishermen out of hand. Who is running India's neighborhood policy and security policy? Who's the person in charge? The Prime Minister says that we will have a robust foreign policy. What is this going on? Is there anybody in charge of India's foreign and security policies?
जिस तरह से मशरद आलम भट्ट को छोड़ा है, वो भी लखवी जैसा ही एक टेररिस्ट है. अगर उसको हमारे हुकूमत ने छोड़ा है, तो हम किस मुंह से पूछेंगे उसको कि आपने लखवी को क्यों छोड़ा है?
The Islamabad High Court on Friday suspended the detention order of Lakhvi for the second time and had ordered his immediate release. Lakhvi, along with 6 others, is the prime accused in the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks that killed 166 people. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The former Maldivian president and opposition leader Mohammad Nasheed has been sentenced to 13 years in jail by a criminal court under anti-terrorism laws. In a court hearing, Nasheed, who was arrested on the 22nd of February over charges of illegally detaining a judge in 2012, was charged under the country's Anti-Terrorism Act. According to reports, Nasheed has asked his supporters to come out on the streets to protest the arrest. Nasheed has been earlier charged with abuse of power, but the more serious charge against the country's terrorism law using the terrorism law was filed last month by prosecutors. The trial was completed after 10 hearings. Meanwhile, India and the United States have expressed deep concern of the developments in the Maldives, including the arrest and manhandling of Nasheed, and have sought the resolution of differences within the constitutional framework. All the other international news and updates in Global Buzz. 8 people have died after Cyclone Pam devastated the Pacific island nation of Vanuatu. 20 people have been injured as well. Winds of up to 340 kilometers per hour ripped metal roofs of houses and downed trees as relief agencies braced for a major rescue operation. It's been considered as the worst natural disaster in the island nation's history. A double-decker crowded ferry capsized in northwestern Myanmar after being slammed by huge waves. The ferry had 209 people on board. Rescuers have pulled out 167 people from the sea, and about 50 people are believed to be dead. Thousands of people have been evacuated after a forest fire spread quickly on Chile's coast and threatened to reach the nearby port cities of Valparaíso and Vina del Mar. Chilean authorities have declared a state of emergency. The fire began at an illegal garbage dump on Friday afternoon and spread quickly as it was fanned by strong winds. Iraqi forces battled Islamic State jihadists, making what looks increasingly like a last stand in Tikrit. Thousands of fighters surrounded IS holdouts, pounding their positions with helicopter and artillery strikes. Karim al-Nouri, a top leader from the Badr militia, said it would take no more than 72 hours to flush out the militants. Japan hosted a United Nations Disaster Management Conference and pledged $4 billion towards a new plan to reduce disaster risk. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said that his country will offer $4 billion in aid for global efforts to improve disaster management over 4 years, including support for building infrastructure in developing countries. Well, news from the Cricket World Cup now, and India maintained the unbeaten record in the World Cup by defeating Zimbabwe by 6 wickets in their final group match at Auckland. Suresh Raina and captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni led the chase with a 196-run fifth wicket partnership to make it 6 out of 6 for India.
Once again, another 50.
The outcome of the final group game was hardly of any relevance for India, as the defending champions were already guaranteed the top spot in Pool B. Zimbabwe started off poorly after being put in to bat first, losing wickets quickly. However, Zimbabwean captain Brendan Taylor scored a brilliant century in his final international appearance and helped his side post a challenging total of 288 runs. The Indian pace trio of Mohammad Shami, Umesh Yadav and Mohit Sharma took 3 wickets each as they bowled out their opponents. In reply, India lost both openers early. Virat Kohli and Ajinkya Rahane steadied things with a 50-run partnership, but they too fell in quick succession, putting India in a spot of bother.
Got him! Chopped it on!
But Suresh Raina and captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni then combined their talents in a 196-run unbeaten fifth wicket partnership to complete the chase. Man of the match Suresh Raina scored his first century of the World Cup, while Dhoni finished unbeaten at 85. India will play Bangladesh in the quarterfinal on 19th of March.
It was a good game for us, and all the batsmen also, they were under pressure, was doing a bit and started to stop a bit also, and their bowlers, I felt they exploited it. They were bowling slow, they were using the slower deliveries really well. So overall a good game.
In a Pool A match, Australia comfortably beat Scotland by 7 wickets to finish second in the group. Michael Stark and Pat Cummins took 4 and 3 wickets respectively as Australia bundled out Scotland for just 130 runs.
Certainly hasn't worked for Scotland. Is that enough?
Australia achieved the target in just 15 overs.
He takes a brilliant catch.
Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
And it'll be 6.
Let's now have a look at the points tally at the World Cup. At the end of the group matches in Pool A, New Zealand are at the top of the group, having won all the league matches. Australia finished second after today's win against Scotland. Sri Lanka are third with 8 points. Bangladesh completes the 4 teams that have qualified for the quarterfinal. Defending champions India top Pool B after remaining unbeaten in the tournament. South Africa are second, while Pakistan and Ireland are at third and fourth place with 6 points each. West Indies are in fifth with 4 points and still remain in contention for the quarterfinal berth. Tomorrow's matches will decide the final 2 qualifiers from the group. That's all from us. Goodbye.